I'm gonna pull up the agenda.
Okay,
Just-
thank you. Okay, thank you. We can go ahead and get started at 7 o'clock. Today is Wednesday, February 10th. This is the call to order of the Town of Cottage City General Meeting. We'll start off with Ward 1. Don't believe she's here. Ward 2,
Ward 1, I'm present.
thank you. Ward 2,
Present.
thank you. Ward 3 is present. Ward 4,
Present.
thank you. At large,
Present.
thank you. Next on our agenda is the approval of the minutes and financials for January. Are there any questions or comments?
No, ma'am.
Hearing no comments, I request a motion to approve the minutes and financials for January.
Hello?
Yes,
Yeah, I was trying to speak. I didn't realize you all had muted me in addition to myself muting myself. I don't have it right in front of me, but there was another indication of something like $19,000 going to Bank of America. Would you mind just explaining quickly what that was again?
Miss Barber.
I would have to pull them up, but I imagine that it's probably just the credit card. We did put the Odyssey and Schenkel card on the credit card, so that was a large expense. So that's most likely what the charge is. I don't have the financials in front of me. I can stop sharing my screen and see if I can get to them if you want to give me a minute. Would you like me to do that?
That's
Yeah,
fine,
that
thank
was
you.
just the one thing that I noticed.
You can swell, I can get the answer as well while we're
Okay.
just waiting for QuickBooks to open.
And that may be the same one we talked about last month. It's 12/31/2020, $19,594.53.
Yes, that is correct. That is the December credit card transactions. Yeah, that includes 4,200 for Odyssey, another 3,800 for Odyssey, which is the engine rebuild, another 4,300. Yeah, so 11,000.
So it cost several $1,000s to rebuild the engine?
12,000, yep.
12,000. Wow.
I believe there was some additional work that was done other than the engine as well. Greg might be able to speak to it if he's on the call.
Well, I remember he told us that it was going to be high. I didn't remember it was going to be that high, but if everybody else is okay with it, don't let me hold you up with just that one thing.
Okay, if there are no other questions or comments, we can move to the next item.
I think you need a motion to approve, right?
Yeah, I was asking for a motion. I didn't get one.
So moved.
Commissioner Givens, motion to approve
Okay,
minutes and financials.
okay, thank you.
Second, Commissioner Amarche.
Thank you, commissioners.
Oh, I apologize. Hold on.
Okay, thank you. If there are no objections to the approval of the minutes and financials, we'll move to the next item. Next is public comments. Is there anyone on the meeting tonight who wishes to make a
Did we need
comment?
to take a vote on the minutes and financials?
Well, I did say if there's no objections. No one said anything. But we can take a vote. Ward 1,
I'll vote aye.
Ward 2,
Aye.
Ward 3, aye, Ward 4,
Commissioner Givens, Ward 4 aye.
at large.
Large eye.
Again, thank you, everyone. Moving on to the next item, public comments. Are there any comments from the public tonight? I see we have several people joining us tonight, so I'm not sure.
Ms. Albright, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Gloria Albright. I'm the new community liaison for Delegate Fennell's office of District 47A. While the House is in session, I will be representing her at many of the virtual meetings. If you have any questions for Delegate, you can please let me know what they are, and I'll make sure she gets them and get back to you as soon as possible. And I thank you for giving me this opportunity to introduce myself. Also, Mr. Brown is still a part of her staff, but I will be the one probably attending the meetings from now on.
Okay, thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Commissioner Wheatley?
Yes,
Could we ask Ms. Albright to put her information in the chat so that we can have that for everyone, her email and her phone number?
Sure.
Thank you.
are there any other public comments at this time? I'll give you a few seconds to come off of mute. Okay, doesn't appear that we have any more comments from the public right now. Of course, if anyone decides they want to make a comment later on, they're free to do that. We can move on to the next item, Ms. Barber.
Okay, that's the general orders for the Explorer program. I'll let the chief handle it, but just to give a little bit of background, at the last meeting, I think it was the work session where we were talking about the Explorers. A commission had asked that we come up with something a little bit more specific for the town rather than just the national guidelines that were available through the Boy Scouts of America Exploring Program. And so the chief does have general orders, and you see them on the screen. I also have sent them to you all by email. Mr. Best had also looked at them and made one recommendation. I don't have that email in front of me right now, but I certainly can send that out to you. He's also on the line and can chime in when the chief is finished. So I'll hand things over to the chief to discuss this.
Good evening, everyone. In reference to the Explorer Post 1924, we have sent to you the general orders for our town. Also, we have researched the insurance. The insurance is overlapping with Legit as well as Boy Scouts of America. I did provide the town manager with that information as well as our attorney, Mr. Best. Right now, I'm ready to answer any questions if you have any.
Are there
I've got
any
a
questions for the chief right now?
I've got one question. I don't have it in front of me, but I believe that Mr. Best sent an email with 2 suggestions in it. So I guess I'd ask Mr. Best and Chief Ayers to answer whether that's been resolved.
I don't have it in front of me right now, but that would be in place. The 2 pieces that he
You're sort of
wants.
breaking up for me. I don't know if you are for anyone else.
Chief, you're breaking up. We can't hear you.
Okay.
Can you repeat
I
what
can
you
let
said?
Mr. Best. I can let Mr. Best speak on that. I have not sat down with him, but like I said, the entries that he want me to put in there is no problem to actually put it in there. I just have to get with legit, not legit, with execute to actually make the changes. Hello?
Yes, sir. I'm just trying to pull up the email real quick if I can. I can read it to you.
Yes, the changes are minor changes, and those changes can be actually be inputted into the general orders. I just have to get in contact with legit to actually make the changes, but I'm fine with the changes that Mr. Best is requesting to be entered.
So you and Ms. Barber will be following up on that then?
Yes, but the changes that he's asking is not major, and those things can be inputted very easily. I just got contact with legit, Lexipol and make the changes.
If you need something, come get me, okay? No, you're in class. You stay in class. I'm gonna have to speak to mom like I.
Excuse me, if you're not speaking, could you please mute yourself? Thank you.
So at this point, what I believe Mr. Best had instructed staff was if we could get an approval of the general orders for the Explorers, we can, I guess, have a copy of it signed. Is that what you said, Kevin?
Yeah, I think it'd be prudent to have a signature block on each policy number or policy item or general order, the date that it was approved and or at least promulgated. And if it's ever amended or revised, have a date for that so that you can have some legislative history, if you will, on the general order. Some of them will be revised. As for this policy 1025, for the Explorers, the other thing that I suggested was not just a waiver for the ride-along provision, if the Explorer Scout was to ride along with a police officer in a town vehicle and sign a release for that, but to have one for the entire program. I think the chief has indicated he's checked to see if there's a rider or an insurance coverage for legit, and apparently that's been confirmed, I believe, but I think it's prudent to have them sign a release and waiver for participation in the program. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments?
I can piggyback on that real quick.
Go ahead, Chief.
Yeah, in reference to that, when I talked to Lexipol, they said we can do that, but any changes would be placed in our history electronically in reference to our any changes, as well as the date it was issued out. So that is done electronically already. But Mr. Best said, he wants to have some of this visual for people that's reading it to actually see that. So that's what we're trying to accomplish with that part. But right now, we have that component with the history automatically being done and collected by our database. But like I said, Mr. Best would like to see it openly seen by the reviewer who sees the document. And that's what we're working on right now.
Thank you, Chief.
Go ahead, Commissioner Young.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Okay, thanks. So then I guess, Ms. Barber, you'll make sure that you have releases from the two people in question, and then that Legit has signed off on it.
Right. So what I think Mr. Best is suggesting is that every explorer, not just the two that are interns, signs a
okay.
waiver and release. So we will make sure that they have that signed. I thought that they already had signed one, but we'll make sure that they have one signed for participation in the program. And then we'll also have the information for the insurance from Legit as well.
Thank you. And the general orders, I guess, was the other thing.
Correct.
Thank you. That's all from me right now.
Are there any other questions or comments? Hearing no further discussion, I'll call for the vote. We'll call for the motion.
Commissioner Givens, I make a motion to, so moved. to
Thank you.
approve
Thank you,
minute.
Commissioner. Is there a second?
I second Commissioner Amashay.
Thank you, Commissioner. Ward 1, your vote.
Aye.
Thank you, Ward 2.
Aye.
Thank you, Ward 3. Aye. Ward 4. Commissioner Givens, you may have to unmute yourself.
Commissioner Givens, Ward 4, aye.
Thank you. At large.
Large aye.
Thank you. The motion passes. Okay. Next is Resolution 2021-01, the ending of the hazard pay. Ms. Barber, are you going to bring that up for us?
Yes, ma'am. I just have to switch over.
Thank you. And just to let everyone know, if there's a delay in me responding, it's because I'm taking myself off of mute.
Okay. So hopefully you all can see that. I can try and make it bigger, but I don't know how much more I can make it bigger. But anyway, so at the last meeting, we had discussed the issue about hazard pay that had begun during COVID-19 pandemic back in the, I guess, the spring, summer. And that was scheduled to end at the end of the emergency declaration by the county. However, that has not occurred. Actually, the county has extended the emergency declaration 3 times. However, staff management wanted to know whether or not the commissioners wanted to continue the hazard pay for the essential personnel. And there was a consensus at the last meeting that you all wanted to end that because all of the employees were back on a regular schedule and working and no longer desired to provide the hazard pay. So what you have in front of you is Resolution 2021-01. That ends the hazard pay with the next pay period after the passage of this resolution. The end of the pay period will occur on, I believe, this Friday. So Saturday will be the beginning of the next pay period, at which point the hazard pay would end. And this is a $2 differential for police and public works essential staff.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Barber. So as Ms. Barber said, we discussed this last week during the work session. I don't know if there's any more to discussion. If there's not, we can go ahead and take the vote now.
Commissioner Givens, just for the public record, for those who are not in attendance, I think we should explain as to our decision in the event that, someone may question that, that was not at the last meeting. You could just kind of give a short explanation of, and then we could take the vote.
Okay, I'll repeat what Ms. Barber said, because I thought she
No,
explained it.
I mean, okay, I apologize. I apologize. I wasn't listening. I didn't realize it. I
Yeah,
know that we had made the decision, but I wasn't sure if she explained as to why we came to that decision. The funding had ran out. For those who may not have been there, the funding had run out, and there was we were having to take on the funding ourselves, and then and at that point, everyone's back to work. So thank you. That's it.
Yeah, she explained it, but I'll repeat it again if you like. So,
No, there's no need. There's no need.
okay, so are we ready to take the vote?
Yes, make a motion.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I make a motion that we cancel the emergency additional pay of $2 per person for those for hazardous duty.
Do you have to say the resolution number in your motion? Do you need it? It's 2021-01.
2021-01.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second,
Thank you.
Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Commissioner. Call for the vote. Ward 1.
Aye.
Thank you. Ward 2.
Aye.
Ward 3. Aye. Ward 4. You probably have to unmute.
Commissioner Ward 4, aye.
Thanks. At large.
Large I.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously. So that was under old business. Next on our agenda is new business, which,
I'll be taking that. Yes, ma'am.
okay, you'll take that one, Ms. Barber.
Yes, so I just want to attention. Yesterday, Commissioner Young had a question about the old Port Towns Motors and what had happened to the building there. And I had the code enforcement and police go out this morning, and sure enough, someone has hit the small building that is located behind the main building at 3800 Bladensburg Road, which is the old Port Towns Motors building. I'm going to show you some pictures. I'm going to attempt to, and the chief and Mr. Wade did go out and assess the property. The property has been posted by the fire department, and that it is a dangerous building and that no one should enter the building. We also posted the building, so hopefully you can see that on the screen there. We posted the building to let folks know that it is unsafe to enter the building because there was some indication, I believe, that people had been going and staying in the building, sleeping and whatnot. So what we are asking is, we have contacted the owner. Mr. Wade contacted the owner today, and he did indicate that he had a contractor that he would get out to the property to assess the damage and hopefully raise the building to take it down. However, staff has some concerns with the weather impending. If there were to be a large degree of snow, whether or not the building would survive, and the safeness of it, and also the aesthetics of it being on the main drag there in town. And we wanted to know if you all wanted to set a number of days to give the owner time to respond to our request before we did any type of abatement. And then also whether or not you all would approve an emergency abatement. We don't have anything in our code, and Mr. Best may chime in here at any time. We don't have anything in our code regarding an emergency abatement. We, we don't have any funding in place for a project of this size. So we wanted to know if it would be something that you wanted us to undertake, or if you just want to leave it up to the owner, which we do not have a good track record with him abating the property. And I can show you other pictures as well. I have some other ones on the side, but this is the main picture.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Barber.
Mm-hmm.
And Commissioner Chair, can I add on to that?
Sure.
And the reason why we have no faith is because we've been, for a whole year since I've been here, been trying to get that owner to remove that bus off the property. And to this day, he has not done so. And for us to actually abate that bus, it would cost us almost $1,200 to abate it. And right now, which the town manager says, we don't have any line items for abatement of that size, as well as the authority to actually do emergency abatement. So these are concerns that we need to address probably later on down the road to actually address properties like this, to actually abate it and actually put a lien on the property to get our money reimbursed to us.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Is there any discussion in regards to the property?
Commissioner Givens, I don't think it's prudent that we go into any based on, I understand the situation being what it is. However, I would be opposed to trying to make any pass emergency legislation to address this, only because you're setting, to me, it just seems like you're pointing them out, and then that type of thing can continue to snowball into other things, and I'm just not for that. I believe that whatever laws we have on the books, we should address it and deal with the person accordingly, and just enforce it. Just go by, go by the regular standards and go by the rules. We shouldn't try to go around the rules, So that's my belief. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are
Can I
there-
interject real quick?
Go ahead,
Can I
Chief.
respond to that, ma'am?
Go ahead.
We're not trying to hurt nobody. What happened is those items right now are safety issues. We've been having several complaints about people sleeping inside the bus, using drugs in the bus. We found
Excuse me,
needles
I'm
inside
having a hard time understanding the chief. Could you
Sure.
maybe give,
Sure, no problem.
that's better. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Can you hear me now? Is that better?
Yes.
Much
Okay.
better. Thank you.
No problem. Yeah, in reference to on the property, and reason why you need emergency abatements is for safety reasons. You have a bus that we have several people in the past have called and said people are sleeping in there, using drugs in there. We have secured syringes inside that vehicle also, which kids can be up in there and actually inject themselves or get cut on. Broken glass inside the bus, also sharp metal objects inside the bus. That's why we were trying to do emergency abatement for that bus, to remove that bus for safety reasons. We don't just do abatements, emergency abatements just to get back at people. It's the point where we do it for safety reasons. Also, that building is off of its foundation, and anything near there can actually collapse it. We have right now the windows removed and someone sleeping inside of it as we speak. I had officers go out there to try to secure it as much as possible to prevent that individual to go back in there and sleep in there. But if that individual goes inside and sleeps in there, even we have a sign marked that is unsafe for human habitation or unsafe building, that person goes in there and that thing collapses on him, we might be held liable. So things like this has to be, we have to have some kind of legislation in place for emergency abatements such as this. It's a safety hazard. Not our sword, it's something that can hurt somebody or kill somebody.
Commissioner Givens, I'd like to be, in regards to the situation at hand, I hear what you're saying. You have the county come out and condemn the building. That's what
That-
we need to
that was
do.
done.
Hold on,
That
hold on.
was-
Let me finish.
yeah.
Let me finish. Let me finish. We're talking about you're putting the town in a different, as far as I'm concerned, you're putting the town and you could potentially put the town in litigation by trying to create something that a court may look at it and says, well, you know, you kind of, what's the name? And I don't want to go through all that. You know what? These are the rules that are in place now. And I'm telling you, I believe in my, what's the name? And the attorney can speak as to what he believes. But, you know, our job as commissioners is to reduce our risk and liability. If we done our job, you know, in regards to following whatever appropriate rules, then it's not going to come back on us. It's not ultimately our responsibility to tear the building down. It's our responsibility to enforce the laws that we have on the books. So I'll take my, what's the name, on mute.
Is there any other discussion?
I have a question. This is Commissioner Young. Is the owner of the property, I mean, is it an ongoing business? I mean, is the owner just refusing to do anything? I'm not real clear on what the situation is with the owner.
The owner is trying to get paperwork to sell the property, I believe. But in the meantime, he pays the liens on the property, but nothing has been replaced. So what he does is when we cite it, he does pay his taxes. When we put liens on it, he does pay the lien. The problem is that the safety issue is still there. That busted in since February, last February.
Chief, you're breaking up again.
It has not been
You're breaking up. You're breaking up.
While you're getting back on, my question, I guess, does he understand that that it's a danger? And if there are kids in there taking drugs, I mean, does he understand the dangers there?
I don't know if the chief is still on, but you know, we had the code enforcement has talked with him a number of times about the issue and has expressed the concern that we have from a safety aspect. Now, whether or not he understands it, we can't say what's in his mind or what he believes. You know, he may think it, you know, it's not a big deal to me. But, you know, we just can't say. We have stressed to him the safety concerns that we have and the issues that are going on his property.
So he knows. So he knows what the problems are.
I believe so, yes, ma'am.
Ms. Barber, may I ask a question?
Yes.
Have we issued any fines to the property owner?
So what was issued was the abatement costs from last year when we had to cut the grass, mow the grass and things like that, when he didn't mow the grass. And the lien was placed on the property and he did pay the lien. We
Hey,
didn't,
Mhm.
I don't know if you saw it, but I did put up there that, you know, that bus has been there a long time. And so I believe Mr. Wade was sending him a letter. But I did ask Mr. Wade not to send the letter yet because I wanted to see if you all wanted to put some stronger language in the letter than is boilerplate, what we put in for code infractions. So I told him to just wait until we had the meeting tonight.
Maybe perhaps because we haven't given him a chance to do anything. So we're already talking about going down that, taking a vote to go down that road. And I would be against that. So why don't we, here's a suggestion. Why don't we word strongly from our letter from our attorney in regards to the situation and just let them know that there could be potential emergency legislation that could be, I don't know if that's even prudent, you know, but you're giving him a chance to take it serious this time in this event because it becomes a safety and hazard thing. Go ahead in the meantime, get the county to come out and have them respond out and condemn the building. So now the county's contacting him too in regards to it. So it's not just us talking about, I mean, this is not cutting the grass. We're talking about a building. you know,
Correct.
and that's a considerable amount of money, even to talk about raising a building, you know what I'm saying? But it's also
Yeah.
a safety thing too, you know what I'm saying? So he may take it more serious in regards to that. So thank you.
Yes, county already has been out to actually condemn the building already. So we have that on record. As well as we have contacted him several times in reference to the bus. He has been cited in reference to the bus and paid the fine for the bus. But it's to the point where, you know, he just keep on kicking the can down I guess down the street and not doing any improvements on the property. And it's come to a point where he has two things that are safety issues, not just one now. And so we're just trying to see what the commission wants us to do to actually step it up a little bit, to actually get this stuff rectified, because we don't want anybody to actually get injured or die because of something that we could have done on the front end to actually address this.
Can we hear from the attorney, please?
Before we hear from Mr. Best, I have a question for the chief or Miss Barbara, whichever one can answer me. In regards to the prior infractions, was the bus a part of it, or is the bus something new? Is this a new violation?
No, the bus has been a violation since I got there last year. We've been addressing him by letters, as also citing him in reference to the bus. And like I said, it's to the point where he's not moving on the bus, I guess because he don't want to pay the price to get it towed off. It's inoperable. So that means that he has to get a crane off the property, and it will cost roughly almost $1,200 to get it removed off this property.
So the drug paraphernalia, the homeless person, all of that he's been informed about that, and he hasn't addressed that?
That's correct.
I'm just speaking on the bus.
Yes, that's
And you
correct.
said that's been over a year.
And today, what was the last straw today is we have a person that wanted to buy the bus from him. And when she called him today, he wanted to charge her $5,000 for the bus. And she was trying to get it for a lower price, and he didn't want to budge on giving her the bus for $5,000, which he wanted her to pay him $5,000 for the bus that doesn't work. And she was going to remove it off the property for him for free, just to get off his hands if he just turned it over to her. And he refused to do that. He wanted $5,000 for the bus.
Okay, thanks, Chief. And so the building itself, it was condemned by the county today?
No, county condemned it. I think it was Monday. They condemned it Monday.
They condemned it on Monday.
Yes, they were out there before us. I believe it was a fast chase or something that caused it to hit. Officers on the scene will report and ask for a building inspector to come out because of the damages. A building inspector did arrive and condemned the building unsafe. But once again, the front window is busted out, and I guess it has some kind of safety mesh that was over the window was pulled down, and someone's living inside of it. So what we did was we tried to secure it the best we could, and we put police tape around the area to keep people away from that location. But like I said, you know, it's not secure enough that, you know, somebody can get around our little obstacle to get inside that building.
And how many times has his property been abated?
I believe several times in the course of the year, in reference to cutting grass, as well as cleaning up the trash on the property. All that stuff has been cited to him or issued to him in reference to all the time we had to come on the property to clean it. Because today we abated him again in reference to the trash, the tires, the other brush and debris that's on his property as we speak. We cited that today also.
So the only time he responds is when he's given a lien or a fine? Is that the only time he responds?
Oh yes, he just recently started calling us back. We've been calling him for years, a whole year. I guess the last month and a half, he started, you know, calling us back and speaking to us on the phone. But prior to that, we've been calling and leaving messages, and he would not respond to our letters or our messages. But what he would do at time for taxes, he would pay his taxes in the lien.
So he would go and until the taxes were due, and that's when he would clean up his account or pay his?
He would pay the fines. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it sounds like there's a pattern here. And doesn't sound like it's a good pattern. I understand what Commissioner Givens is saying in regards to the cost and, but it doesn't sound like we're singling him out. It sounds like we have tried to work with him for over a year, Chief, is what you're saying?
That's correct. With one safety issue. Now we have another one. That's why we don't have faith that he's going to do it. When I spoke to him this morning, he claims that for us not to come on his property to knock it down because it's going to be expensive for him, that he has a contractor will come out to do it. So we're going to give him time for that. But it's the point where I'm just going on, if he doesn't, do we want us to give us a time limit for him to do the job? Because we want to write him a letter, a certified letter, stating how long we'll give him to do it. And we ask the permission or given a consistency of how long you want us to give him to raise that building, because that building cannot be repaired. It's going to collapse.
Okay, so did he give you a time frame of when his contractor could come?
He says he's going to send them out today, but we were out there all day going back and forth, and we haven't seen anybody come through there. We'll call him again tomorrow to see what happened, why his contractor didn't show up. But my office has been out there all day trying to put tape up there and try to secure that property as best as we could, and we haven't seen him at all today.
So let me understand something. You're telling me now, because I didn't realize all of this, he was a victim, essentially, whether we agree with it or like the terminology or not. He had something that happened to his property that was beyond his control in regards to the damage that's occurred to it now, which as a result needs to be torn down. So we're talking about wanting to enact emergency legislation to force him to get on the stick for something that he didn't create, the situation in regards to somebody running to his building. And this is what I'm saying. Hold on, Chief. I'm still trying to get my point across. And that way I'll let you get your point across. Let me get my point across. And so, that's why I'm having a problem with it, because even more so now that you're telling me this, and I understand his track record, his history, but we're dealing with the situation at hand. We're not talking about grass cutting. We're not talking about the bus. We're talking about the building. The county just came out on Monday, and today is Wednesday, and condemned it. We haven't given him any type of opportunity to make a correction to the problem. I would ask what is the current situation in regards to our laws on the books in regards to dealing with this as far as the timetable. And if you can give us that, then perhaps it will give the commission a better understanding as to what timetables he may be under law to make a correction within.
We have 15 days for people to make changes for us. And then after that, we have to give them another 15 days. And then after that, we have to go to court. So like I said, it's a cycle we have to go through in reference to that, but this is something totally different. This is an emergency situation where you have insurance. He has insurance for that property. We asked him about that. That can actually get him moving forward to actually correct the problem. This is not like, grass cutting or a limb hanging over. This is a house, a building that can actually crush somebody. We have a person that's already been proven sleeping in there. We tried to prevent them from going back in there. But I'm a kind of person that I'm being straight up with everyone here. I'm not going to have on my conscience that I didn't try to do something and someone get killed on that property.
You did your job. You did your job.
And like I said, it's the point where I'm still going to fight for trying to have some kind of wording or something sent to the gentleman to give him a timetable. No one said he has to knock it down tomorrow or next week. We're just trying to see what's a fair timetable that the commission wants to agree upon for us to apply to the letter we want to send to him to put some fire under him to say that we're serious about this. We need you to act on it.
Oh, okay, because that's different than the legislation that people were just talking about. I'm with you with that. Okay, the wording, as far as the timetable, the letter, I'm with you on all of that.
Right.
But you're talking about enacting emergency legislation in regard, you're taking.
No. I said at a later date we discuss something about emergency. Let's say at a later date. We don't have enough budget to do something like that.
Okay.
But a lot of towns have emergency abatement for stuff like that. And say we can discuss later on down the road for stuff like this.
Yeah,
we don't have enough budget to do a major raising.
Yeah. Okay.
May I speak, Ms. Chair?
Okay, hold on one second, Commissioner at Large. Chief, what you just said, I didn't catch any of that. Can you repeat yourself, please?
Yeah, what I was saying is when I first started this conversation, I explained to everybody that, yes, we want to see what
the commission wants to give time, how much time you want to give this gentleman to go ahead and act on this raising of his property, because he just told me that he has insurance on his property. So the insurance shouldn't take long for him to actually come with the money to actually raise it or do something to secure it. So what we're saying is we just need something from the commission that is a time that's appropriate that y'all can agree on tonight, that we're going to put in this letter to give to him to force him to act. Now, what I also said is that later down the road, we need to visit the idea of having some kind of emergency funds put in our budget for emergency abatements for safety reasons, for incidents like this. If something happens to a point where he doesn't act or we can't get in contact with our owner, because we haven't gotten in contact with him for almost 7 months. He just finally started calling us. But to have an emergency situation where someone can get injured, we need to have something on the books later on down the road to address something like this.
Okay, thank you, Chief. So Ms. Barber, just so I'm clear, originally you started off asking for you gave us two options, to either have something on the books for emergency abatements or to do the timetable, which Chief has just talked about.
Correct. They're kind of parsimonious.
Okay, so you were asking for both.
Yes, and I believe that the chief is asking for both as well, but not when I say emergency legislation, I guess it was not the right terminology. I mean, emergency legislation in terms of something on the books that we can work on, at the next meeting in March, the work session and the next meeting in March, to come up with some legislation so that when there is an emergency like this one, we have some legal standing to take action. Because right now, according to the code, we do not.
Okay, so everyone is clear. The emergency legislation that Ms. Barber was speaking to was just to have something on the books for future emergencies, not
Correct.
Specifically for this current situation. Is that not correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, Ms. Yuri, your question?
So I'm recalling a conversation we had concerning this property, I think maybe last year. And I remember us discussing that the property owner was allowing a homeless gentleman to sleep there. I guess he had some type of agreement with the gentleman. So just to bring that back to our attention that, I think that he has, a relationship with the homeless person that's living there. I'm not sure how closely he monitors the activity of that individual, but that might be something that we need to discuss with the owner, just to be updated on that. I guess when it comes to Ms. Barber, I don't know if you could speak to this briefly. Other than mowing the lawn and other aesthetic things, have we issued any type of infractions on the structure of the property, or have we had that surveyed in any type of way, or has the property owner given us any type of update, I guess, on the structure of the property, or have we issued anything?
So I think if I'm understanding you correctly, you're asking whether or not he's been cited on the actual Port Towns Motors building that's still standing,
Yes.
The larger structure that has the portico. And as far as I'm aware, there, Chief, you can correct me if I'm wrong, there has not been any type of citation for that. He's been cited for the bus being there. But I mean, the other thing is, I mean, we've contacted him about the trash that's been around the building and things like that.
Okay. I think we do have, like the chief said, I think we do have, reason to be concerned about this. He hasn't necessarily worked with us, in a timely way. And I think that we should move forward and, asking him, giving him the plan that we'd like to proceed with. And if he doesn't stick with it, then I just think we have no choice than to kind of move forward, with our action plan if he's not compliant.
Well, I have a suggestion for the commission. My suggestion is, if possible, if we can get a ruling tonight to actually write the letter, giving him 2 days to actually secure the property, make sure that the chain is back up so no one can drive back on the property, and also put up some barriers around, like a fence barrier around the building to keep people out. They have what you call portable fencing that he can actually purchase or rent to actually put around that building to actually secure it so no one can actually get near it until he comes up with his money to actually raise it. We try to be reasonable. We're not trying to be, hit nobody over the head, but we're trying to make that property safe, that no one will get injured. And so I think that's reasonable for him to actually rent a chain link fence that he can put around that building and secure it until he's ready to raise it. And giving him at least 3 months to actually come up with some kind of idea of how to really raise it or do something to actually secure it better than the fence. That's my recommendation.
Commissioner Gibbons, I'm good with that, but can we still hear from the attorney?
I was just about to ask the attorney to speak, Mr. Givens. Mr. Best? Mr. Best?
Evening. Well, a lot going on here, and this is the first I heard about this. I was looking at the code during the discussion. My first comment is your code is not as adequate as other municipalities in handling hazardous buildings. You do have a hazardous building provision in your code, though, and it lays out a process that you can follow when a building is hazardous. So you might want to look at that and follow that. But I would recommend that you update your ordinance so that you have a little more latitude for enforcing this type of situation. I wonder if the property, if it was a vacant building, were they registered as a vacant building under the town's vacant building registration ordinance?
No.
That's an ancillary issue. I will say one thing you need to understand is when a municipal corporation elects to exercise police powers, that it has the same as the county, ergo a building ordinance or a building condemnation ordinance. If a municipality has the law on the books, then the municipality is the primary local government authority on that area of the law. So if the county has come in and issued a demolition order or condemned the property and the town has a similar ordinance, that's improper. It can be challenged. I'm not saying that the county can't try to flex its muscles and enforce its ordinances within the town, but if it's duplicative or substantially duplicative of town ordinances, then they're the wrong local government to be involved with the situation. I would opine that for this, what little I've seen of the facts thus far, the picture of the town is primarily responsible to abate this nuisance. And the burden is on the local government to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public, particularly when there's an imminent threat to the health, safety, or welfare of the public. The municipality has to take actions, and one of them might be to placard off the building, to board it, and to barrier it off at the town's expense. And once you protect the public and you've taken actions to keep children from going in there or whatnot, then you can seek perhaps a lien to recoup your costs if possible. There's no reason why you wouldn't be able, you don't have the authority. There's no reason why, or let me say it, you have every authority to recoup your losses to abate a nuisance using your own resources or those of a contractor. If you don't have that authority, then your ordinances are woefully inadequate and need to be updated to allow that sort of thing. So in terms of building condemnation, emergency abatement, taking action right now to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public, these are municipal responsibilities. And if your laws are inadequate, amend them and fix them. I think you need to really look at this provision you do have on the books, and I think it's probably fairly adequate to take some measures right now. I need to look at it closer myself. Again, I just found out about this when we reached the agenda item. So that being said, some municipalities have ordinances that require, in addition to the vacant property registration, when a vacant property is dilapidated to any degree, they require a boarding permit. They'll charge a fee for that. That's not the same as abating a nuisance that requires boarding. A municipality can do that itself as well. So
Could I ask you a question, Kevin?
Hold on, Commissioner Young, hold on.
So I think your ordinances can be improved a little bit to give you a little more speedy abatement authority, but you do have something on the books already that you probably could use. And again, if you got something serious, I would think, in Maryland, we don't have the attractive nuisance doctrine for the property owner. And you said that there was a bus, and I saw pictures of what I thought was a building. Heard about a bus being lived in. And I heard about some agreement going on where an individual or homeless person was allowed by the owner to live. That's an illegal permission. That's an illegal contract. If there's no use and occupancy permit that allows residential occupancy on a building, you're not allowed to allow people to stay in your building, period. And so that would be a situation, that violation would be a situation that would be enforceable under the county building code. Why? Because the town doesn't issue use and occupancy permits. So that would be an example where the municipality would step back and the county would come in. But in terms of condemnation and abating the nuisance and the dilapidation of a building, you've already stepped into that realm, and that's your responsibility, I believe. I yield.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Best. Just so I'm clear, you're saying that we have something on the books now in our code to address it, but it's not rigorous enough for an emergency situation. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think that it could be. I've seen more robust provisions that allow municipalities to handle emergencies a little bit better. But you do have in section 4-7 an unfit structures section of your code that starts off with dangerous structures. And I'll just read it very quickly. Any dwelling or unit, including outbuildings and sheds, which shall be found to have any of the following defects shall be condemned as unfit for human habitation and shall be so designated and placarded by the town commissioners. One which is so damaged, decayed, dilapidated, etc. 2, one which lacks illumination, ventilation, etc. 3, one which, because of its general condition or location, is unsanitary or otherwise dangerous, etc. And then the next subparagraph goes into how you give notice to the owner. And then the next subparagraph is how you serve notice on the owner. And then the last paragraph of this section is entitled Sealing of Unfit Structures. And it states, it shall be the responsibility of the owner of the property to remove all unsanitary or flammable material and to board up all windows and doors after a dwelling has been properly determined to be unfit for human habitation, if such boarding is determined by the town commissioners to be necessary for health and safety. In the event the owner of property fails to do so, the cost of the action shall be a lien. So what that means is that if the owner does not act reasonably to board up the unfit structure in a quick enough fashion, the town can go in under this provision and board it up and then charge the boarding, not the removal, not the demolition, the boarding to make it safe. That can be charged in the same manner as property taxes as a lien. So you have that authority already in subsection D of section 4-7 of the town code. I yield.
Thank you, Mr. Best. So we've heard from Commissioners Givens, Yuri, and I've had a few questions. So now I'd like to hear from our other two commissioners, Commissioner Armache, and then Commissioner Young. You can follow behind Commissioner Armache.
All right.
I mean, it sounds like something that, and with regard back to Consuela's question of should there be stronger language? Yes, it sounds like they need to be compelled. And thank you so much, Mr. Best. That was really helpful. Yeah, they should be compelled to do something about this. Seems like they've had ample time, and this has gone on long enough. And it's an eyesore, and it's dangerous. And it's, yeah, needs to be dealt with immediately. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Young.
Yeah, I have something to say, and actually a couple questions for both the chief and Mr. Best. And that is, I agree with going forward. It sounds like the fence may be a better idea because boarding something up that may fall down may be dangerous. But in any event, I support doing whatever can be done with respect to the building and the bust, and making it so that people can't get into them. My question has to do with, or my questions have to do with whoever may be sleeping in that building and whatever people may go into that bus to do drugs or whatever. I'm concerned about those people. And so I'm wondering of several things. One, do we know of a place, a homeless shelter or something, where if the police go to the building and find someone sleeping in there, they can say, look, you know, you can't be in here. There's a homeless shelter and, you know, we'll take you there or something like that. And definitely checking on anyone who might be in the bus as well. But I mean, it's dangerous for anyone to be in that building now is what I'm hearing. So I guess my questions are mainly about what the police can do with respect to any people they find in any homeless people who might, if there's something available, go somewhere else. And how they could go about doing that, because at this point it seems like those are people in danger, and we need to worry about those people, person or people.
Thank
Okay.
you. I'm sorry, Chief. Did you want to answer Commissioner Young?
Yes, Commissioner Young, we do have resources to give, and we have taken homeless people to shelters in the past. The problem is that we're not aware when these people are sleeping in there. Our officers go past there, shine the lights. Normally, the whole parking lot is chained off. Some kind of way, the last couple of days, the chain got knocked down when the vehicle drove onto the property and hit the side of the building. So normally, no one can come on that property unless you walk over there. Our officers have walked over there several times in the past to check on it. When we go in there, we don't see anybody inside the bus, but you see that people have been in there because you see potato chips, blankets. Today, when I went over there today, inside the building, you saw that someone's been leaving in there recently because with a blanket in there, a couple items, personal items, as well as some food that was just eating, has been eaten inside the building. So it's the point where you see that someone has been going inside that property. It's not like we say
You
that,
check
we
at
see it there
night.
every day.
You check at night.
Sometimes you check at night. Sometimes they're not there, but it's the point where you see that, you know, periodically people go in there to stay or get out the rain or out the weather. But it's the point where when we do go over there and we have records showing that we do have that on a premise check, that we do go through there sometimes. But it's not to the point where we have catch people constantly on that property. It's the point where we know for a fact that people have been there and just recently has been there. And we have the officers right now starting today to check that more frequently. But it's the point where normally you don't see anybody around that building, but it's the point where you can tell right now because it's wide open that someone's been staying in there.
But I'd like to reinforce the fact that I said that, you know, the owner had, from a conversation that we had last year, the owner had a relationship with, I think, one of the homeless individuals in the area and has been giving him permission to stay in the property. I don't know if this is the same situation, but that's something that we may need to look into or bring up to the owner.
I wasn't aware of that. When I spoke to the owner, he claims that he doesn't know who's staying there. We did ask him today. Does he know who's staying on the property? I wasn't aware that he was giving permission to anyone to stay on that property because we're not allowing anybody to stay in that property. When our officers come in contact with somebody on that property, we ask them to leave. If we see that person staying or living somewhere that needs some assistance, we offer it to them. But I never heard of someone giving anybody permission to stay on that property. That might be someone told you, but no one has told me about that.
Okay, it was brought up in a previous meeting we had, I think when the property first became vacant. But just
okay.
for the commission's information, I do recall that we did discuss that.
Okay. But I can look into that for you and ask again, because I will be talking to him tomorrow morning.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Are there any other questions or comments for the chief, Ms. Barber, or Mr. Best?
I guess what I'd say is I support doing something, and what the specifics of that are, I guess it would make sense for you to develop those, and to the extent that you need to run them by Mr. Best, and to the extent that you need further input from us, we could address that, but it seems to me like something needs to be done, and we need to watch out for the welfare of those people who may be putting themselves in danger by staying in a building that might fall down on top of them. I mean, if we know that and we don't do something about that, that seems like it could be a problem, couldn't it, for us, Mr. Best?
Well, like I said, I have. Can y'all hear me? I'm sorry. Hello?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I had also asked Mr. Best.
Yeah, my suggestion to the commission, if I may, and Kevin can actually chime in on this. My suggestion is for me tomorrow is to go price out how much fencing will cost to rent to actually go around the bus and the building, because the bus is right next to the building. So I can measure it out and see how many lengths of fencing that is needed to actually close that in, and we just rent the fencing, how much it will cost to rent it in. Then what I do is I will contact the owner, give him a suggestion, say, hey, look, sir, we had a meeting last night. I need, if possible, you can secure the property with a fencing. This is how much it's going to cost roughly. And if you don't take action within a certain amount of time, the town will go ahead and put the fence, erect the fence, and build that expense to the property as a lien. And that's my suggestion, to see if we can do that.
And in the meantime, could you check at night on whether there's anyone in the building, and if they are,
yes.
take them to wherever they need to go or something.
Yes, ma'am, we can do that.
Thank you.
Yes, Madam Chair. Chief, I concur with that. I think you have the authority to do that under the ordinances that you have. But before you do that, I'd recommend that the Cotty City Commission move and vote on that course of action that you recommend. I yield.
Thank you, Mr. Best. So hearing that there is no further discussion, is there a motion on the floor?
Before you make a motion, I think you need to establish, you need to come up with whatever amount of time, you need to express that to us, because we can't be voting on something that's just an open end amount of time. I mean, that would be inappropriate. So you give
I
us some.
thought the chief had recommended 2 days. So we want to give more time?
That I'm not sure what he said. Can you repeat what you said, Chief? Because whatever the motion is, that's kind of, we're gonna kind of need to.
Well, chief had recommended to allow him 2 days.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, chief.
I was gonna allow him to Monday to actually have something erected around the bus and the property, not the whole property, just the bus and the building that's in question, and give him a few days to come up with that. I will go ahead tomorrow, price out fencing before I get my idea how much it's going to roughly cost for him to do that, and that will satisfy our concern with him by doing that. If he doesn't do it by this weekend, Monday, my suggestion is for us to go out there and purchase or rent the fencing, have it erected, and lock it up, and put a lien on his property for the services and the rent.
Okay, so that's the problem. That's right there. That's where I'm having. I mean, this is where it becomes a legal thing, because if the law says currently, and I believe you said the law said 15 days after you issue.
That's 50 days, then that is emergency. This is emergency, sir. This is
you don't have an emergency legislation.
You don't have to have it. You don't have to. We have it. We already have it in the books to do that. What I'm asking to do, we had it in the books to do it.
Attorney, can you please speak, because I'm confused. He got me confused. I don't know what he's talking about, because according to what he just said about having 15 days, and now you're talking about some emergency legislation. I'm not familiar with it. Can you speak to Bess?
Yes. All right. There's 2 ordinances. There's one called nuisances, 4.6, that requires 10 days and 10 days. But the ordinance on unfit structure, all it requires is for you to have a public forum on it, or a hearing, to declare the unfitness of the structure, and then give notice in writing and describe the real estate, a statement of the reason for issuing the notice, state the time to correct the conditions on the property by the owner, and state the time the occupants must vacate, if any. And then to serve notice, there's a number of ways for that, which is I don't need to waste your time with. And you have the authority under 4.4-7 if he doesn't act in a reasonable manner, whatever time constraint, which is open. You have flexibility to prescribe, depending on the exigent circumstances, how much time the property owner has to abide by the conditions you're wishing to impose, things to be abated on the property. And then if he doesn't act, then you can correct the action, and you can seal the building.
Okay, so I guess what I'm getting at is, because you still haven't given me any specifics, what the chief is recommending, right, or suggesting. I want to know if it's reasonable, right? Like he's saying, if he hadn't done it by Monday, then we're going to go in there and board it up. Is that a reasonable time period? And because if it's not, if it's deemed later that it's not, and you just put us into a situation where I wanted to make sure that we're being reasonable, because the courts always speak about a reasonable, being reasonable to the whoever the defendant is.
Well, I'll say that this ordinance, I wish I had time to look at it and feel comfortable about it with these facts before this meeting. But right now, I'm thinking the only emergency measure that can be taken and a lien placed on if the owner doesn't react is sealing. Sealing is not a fence. You'd have to seal it with boards on windows, any openings. You could prevent, as part of the sealing, you could seal the bus, which is being used as a structure, and you could certainly seal the main beading. You could put placards up on the building. You could also put barricades or lights, and with safety tape, police safety tape around the building. I don't know you know, if a strict reading of this provision would allow you to actually put up a fence around the building, which I imagine could be quite expensive, but you certainly can board it up. Something can be done. The primary issue is to give notice to the public not to trespass. And you want to think about children can trespass too. So you want to make sure you board it, put placards or put barriers or barricades up to warn the public not to go in there if it's a hazard. And then we can, later on, we can address beefing up this a little bit more so that you have a little more tools in your toolkit to handle these types of problems. I yield.
Thank you, Mr. Best. So, I'm
Could
just
I
gonna
just
give,
ask,
can I please give my opinion? And then you can ask your
sure, I
question.
just had one quick question for,
Go ahead,
Mr.
Commissioner Young, go ahead.
Mr. Best, did you have a recommendation on giving a time period after which the town would take action? Or if you gave that, could you repeat it just quickly? Thanks.
I'm not in the best situation. I haven't physically seen the structure. I'd have to rely on the chief or someone else in the town government who's actually looked at the, but from what that picture, it looks horribly dilapidated and an imminent threat. So, and because the ordinance gives you flexibility to abate the problem, the unfit structure, you can set the time. And I'd say, I don't think 72 hours or even 48 hours would be unreasonable.
Thank you, Mr. Best. So now I'd like to give my opinion if no one objects. So hearing from everyone, hearing all the comments, hearing from the chief, hearing from Mr. Best and Ms. Barber, I have to agree with Commissioners Young and Commissioner Armache. I think we have to do something. And I don't think what the chief is asking is unreasonable. I feel like maybe not do the emergency abatement, but at least give him some time to address the issue. And then if he doesn't address it, then as the chief said, or Ms. Barber, I think they both said that in March, we can come back and try to make the wording of the code a little bit more stronger so we can take further action. But I can't honestly say that I don't think we should do anything at this time. We have to do something. So if there's not a motion for the emergency legislative language, that's fine. But I do think we need to take a vote on to do something tonight, because this is a hazard and it is a health issue and it's dangerous. Someone could get hurt. So I think we need to do something. And yeah, we can look at it further down the line as far as the emergency language and having something on the books for emergency abatements. But I think we do need to address this issue.
And to give y'all a little bit further information, and I think Mr. Pigney is on, Greg is on the line. If Greg can speak on it, we tried to see what we can do to actually board it up, but due to the fact that the building is so, I say it's not stable, that if we start banging or do anything on that building, we might collapse it. Also, it has a big gaping hole on the side where you have seen the picture. That cannot be secured with boards. I mean, it's just open. It's nothing that we attach anything to actually board that up. The front window is what we try to secure it, but if we try to bang on it or drill in it, it might collapse the whole building. That's how unstable that building is right now. That's why we don't want to go ahead and try to bang on it, try to put boards on it, or try to secure it ourselves, because it might collapse on our workers. That's how unstable that building is right now. That's why our officers went out there today to put the emergency caution tape around it to try to set up a perimeter. So at least we cover our self-liability that we did something to keep people off the property, and we did post it. So it's posted with the county's seal saying that they cannot occupy the building, as well as our tag. We tagged it ourselves with our decal. So we're trying to reduce the risk of liability on us right now, but it's nothing, no way we can actually secure that property other than put a fence around it.
Chair?
Yes, Mr. Best.
Well, in response to that, if that's the case, and it's placed in the record in this recording of this Zoom meeting, that it's impractical to actually use boarding of the doors and windows with plywood, et cetera, and that could aggravate the situation further, then I think that's sufficient. I think that despite the plain language in that provision of the ordinance, I think short of raising or doing something more dramatic and costly, that you could substitute for a plaque for sealing. You could seal it by fence. I think that would be a permissible interpretation of that provision. But to go much further, I don't think you could and actually charge it against the property owner without having a court order. So I think you probably could proceed, particularly if that building is so dilapidated that to hammer up the or to cordon off the entryways in it is going to just aggravate the situation. I yield.
Thank you, Mr. Best. Is Mr. Pinckney on the call? Is he in the meeting tonight? Okay, it doesn't sound like he's on the call tonight. So,
Is the public allowed to speak at this point?
actually, we had called for public comments earlier, but you're welcome to speak now.
I was just curious how they knew that the building was so unstructured.
We had county building inspectors came out. Also, the fire marshal came out to make it deemed unsafe and unstable.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair.
Is that, yes, Mr. Pinckney, is that you?
Yes, that's me. I had to find a way to unmute myself.
Okay.
Yes, I would. We were down there. The only thing that Public Works can do to abate that property is to board up the window. The other side of the property, the doors are still intact, but one of the main walls on the building is compromised severely to the point that the concrete foundation is crumbled up. So it's really not safe for anybody to really try to put anything back or board anything up or anything like that. The window is on the opposite side. I mean, we can probably board that up and probably put it's a gate, kind of like a bar that goes on the window. We may be able to put that back up by just drilling it and hoping that we don't cause too much shaking that the other side of it kind of falls. But that's probably the most that we can do to that building because it's severely compromised. Are you?
Thank you, Mr. Pinckney. So if there's no further discussion, do we want to agree at least on a time frame for the owner to address the issues at the property on 38 on Bladensburg Road at 3800 Bladensburg Road? How do we feel about that? The chief has recommended.
I agree. I would actually recommend that you give 7 days this time next week. You got a snowstorm coming, or so they say. I don't really know. And then you have the weekend coming. You're not sure of the availability of contractors and so on and so forth. So I want to be reasonable. I think 7 days or this time next week is a reasonable amount of time. And so I'll leave it at that. I'll yield back.
I would, this is Commissioner Young. I would agree with Commissioner Givens. I would add that in the interim that the police check nightly to make sure there are no people there. And draw something up that that Kevin can maybe look over and then I guess we probably we don't need to put this in that, but I guess we need to find out, get some idea of the cost. But I would agree with Commissioner Givens that given the forecast for a lot of snow coming in the next few days, that giving them a week would make sense.
Are the other commissioners in agreement? And is that 7 business days or 7 calendar days?
No, this time next week, I think is fine, you know. And you know, I want to say this. I don't want to be misunderstood as to my position. My position is for the safety of the public. It is not against the chief, but it is my job as a commissioner to look out for the best interest. I understand his passion and what he sees, but as far as I'm concerned, I have to look out for the perspective from my own personal perspective as a town resident and taxpayer, as well as a commissioner, to avoid litigation. Litigation is expensive, you know, and so you always have to factor those things in along with those other things. And I think he's on the right track. He's asking for the right thing. I think that I apologize if we were on the wrong page, but I think we're all on the right page now. We all have a better understanding of what's going on, and we can continue to move forward in getting this thing addressed in a timely, proper manner. So thank you. I yield back.
Thank you, Commissioner Armache and Yuri. Are you in agreement to the 7 days?
Yes.
Yes, I am.
Okay, I also agree to 7 days. So,
Madam Chair.
yes, Mr. Payne.
Just for the record, we have about $1,700, I think, remaining in our abatement budget. So whatever we do abatement wise, we got about $1,700 to play with.
I'm sorry. Okay, thanks, Greg. My question, after the 7 days, if he doesn't address this situation, then what do we do? What's our next option?
Well, I think what you first have to do is you go ahead and you issue him the appropriate violation tomorrow, because on the violation, because now you got the clock ticking, right? You know, according to what we already have on the books, your letter can speak to the 7 days and so on and so forth. But by issuing the violation, you have already begun the legal proceedings and following the ordinance that are currently in place.
Okay, Ms. Barber or Mr. Best, I wanted to know what what that is.
So like Commissioner Gibbons said, it is to issue a citation. So that would come from Mr. Wade. It would cite most likely 4-7 subsection D, I think that Kevin was referring to. It would be separate from the letter. I think that would be most prudent to send a letter, a strongly worded letter regarding the 7-day time period.
No, she's still here. You can't hear her? She's speaking now.
Okay, I can hear it. I lost it for a minute. I can hear it now. Go ahead. Repeat.
Okay. And then to send the other separate citation letter, both of them will be by certified mail, so that he has to sign for them, or somebody has to sign for them at the address that we have on record for him. And then as Commissioner Gibbons stated, and as Kevin has stated, you know, the time will start ticking regarding to those 10 days that he has from a legal perspective to respond to the citation.
Could I make a suggestion, another small addition? And I think it would be good for us can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
To add in the letter that in addition to doing whatever we're asking him to do about the building and the bus, to tell him that he needs to assure that there are no people entering the building or the bus himself, that he needs to assure that starting from the date of the letter.
Yes, ma'am.
So Ms. Barber, there's going to be 2 letters. One is going to be for 7 days and then a second letter for 10 days.
Yes, one will be a strongly worded letter regarding the 7 days if you all vote on that tonight. And then the other one will be the actual citation that we would reference if we were to go to court.
Okay, so, but the second letter won't come out unless he doesn't address it within the
Oh,
7
no,
days.
no, no. They'll be at the same time. They'll be mailed at the same time.
Okay, so he'll receive 2 letters. One is the
Right.
serious letter about the structure, which we're giving him 7 days to address that. And then the additional letter for was it 10 days or 15 days?
I believe it's 10. I have to look
10?
at the code, yeah.
Okay. And what is that letter for?
That's the actual citation that is, you know, referencing the code sections that he is in violation of. He's actually in violation of more than just 4-7. I believe there's another code section that Mr. Wade and I were talking about today. There's nuisances, and then there's also under buildings, the first code section under that. I believe that's 14. I just don't have it in front of me. That it's in violation as well. So we will
Okay.
reference all the code sections that he's in violation of in the citation that we sent him.
Okay, I got it. So the first letter is just for the structure and giving him 7 days to address that. And then the additional letter is for all the additional violations and citations that he's in jeopardy of,
Violation of.
in violation of having going on currently.
Correct.
And there's multiple violations.
Yes, there are.
Okay. All right.
And then add into this letter requiring him to take action within 7 days, that he needs to make sure there are no people living or doing anything there.
Yes, thank you,
Sure.
Commissioner Young. I believe Ms. Barbara has taken notes on that.
Right, and we will also have him send us something, as Mr. Best said, reference the vacant property registration. We normally don't require that because sometimes they don't stay vacant for very long, but this one has been, and so we will make sure that he's on the vacant property registration for the town.
Okay, thank you. So I believe we have enough information now to possibly to have a motion on the floor in regards to the structure at 3800 Bladensburg Road. Is there a motion?
I move that a citation as described by Town Manager Barber, along with a letter giving the owner 7 days to address the problems and also assure that there are no people staying there or coming there, be sent to the owner, and that in the meantime, the police will check to make sure there are no people there.
Is there a second?
This is Commissioner Amashay, I second.
Thank you. Call for the vote. Ward 1,
Aye.
Ward 2,
Aye.
Ward 3, aye. Ward 4. Commissioner Givens, are you there?
Commissioner Givens, Ward 4, aye.
Thank you. At large?
At large, aye.
Thank you. The motion passes. So now we can move on to the next item on our agenda, which, Ms. Barbara, I believe that's you.
It is. I'm just going to ask one point of technical thing here. Because I'm having some difficulty with my internet, I have made you host, but I need you to push record because it has stopped recording because I'm no longer the host.
Oh, it says it's still recording.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure because when I pushed the button, it said, ask you to give me permission. But if it's recording, then that's good. Okay.
Commissioner Moon, can you, Amashay, can you see the recording?
Yes, it's recording for me, and I'm going to make Consuela host again.
Okay.
No, I don't want to be host because I'm having problems with my
Okay,
internet.
got you. Just leave it
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, just
Okay.
leave it in there.
It's recording. Go ahead.
Okay, so I just have a couple of things that I want to bring up to you all. I think it's under the town manager's report. So when I started here, one of the things I wanted to do was to do an annual report of the activities of the town for the year, for not only the commissioners, but also for our residents, to see what things that they may not be aware of that have transpired in the town, as far as work done, grants won, and all of that kind of thing. So I have completed that for 2020, and I will send out a copy to the commissioner so you all can review it before it gets posted to the website for a general dissemination. On the agenda, it says the ETHM request. That's the End Time Harvest Ministries. Reverend Addison did send out an email back at the beginning of January about this publication that they have done by the youth. It's called Hear the Cries of Our Youth. And it's a publication that they are selling to raise awareness about problems such as racism, education inequities, healthcare access, and environmental health issues. She did call me the other day and wanted to know if we would help promote the book in our newsletter. I told her that I would ask you all whether or not you all felt that would be appropriate. So as I said, the date that she sent the email was January the 5th, and I don't know if you want to go back and check that and just read the entire email that she sent out. But we have in the past promoted like the little restaurant over off of Rhode Island Avenue. We've promoted the jazz activities, the jazz musicians. So I don't know that it would be too much of a stretch to promote this with her. I know it is asking people to buy something, which is completely different than encouraging people to go to hear music that's free. But I did want to bring that in front of you all. If you want to decide that tonight, you can, or if you just want to get a consensus by the end of the week and let me know, I can, let her know what you all want to do.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Barber. Is there a discussion or a consensus at this time, or do we want to wait and make a decision later in the week?
This is Commissioner Young. It sounds good. Just out of curiosity, how much does it cost?
$35.
$35.
Yes, it's a little pricey.
Yeah. That's all I just want to know.
Do we want to think about it some more?
Commissioner Givens, we're not telling anybody to buy the book. You're just kind of giving them a platform to where they can list the book as an advertisement. It's my understanding. And at that point, it's up to the citizens whether they want to spend $35 or not. You know what I'm saying? So I don't necessarily have a problem with it, so long as the book, is appropriate. I haven't read it, so I don't really know a lot about the publication, whatever. So, thank you. You're back.
Anyone else have any comments?
I have another question. Does it promote a particular religion real strongly?
No, I can't say, like Commissioner Givens, I have not read the book. We didn't get a free copy or anything like that. So I can ask her. I'm just reading the email here, and it just it says, we hope you are encouraged to continue your fight for social and human justice through your God-given call. I don't know about that, but she is a preacher. I can't say.
Ms. Barber, is it possible that we can kind of promote it just like as, a local figure or local leader is, published and is providing this product or selling this product, we don't necessarily have to give our endorsement per se, but we can just promote it as something a local leader is doing for the community.
Sure, I think I would promote it more so as coming from the youth, as opposed to it actually coming from Reverend Addison, because it is, written by the youth. So I would promote it more as a youth centered publication and just promote it that way.
I thought the email had asked that we purchase the book. It didn't.
It did ask that you purchase a book too.
Yeah, I thought it did.
It says, market the book through your publications to your networks, personally purchase books, talk about these minority scholars and their product, and pray for our youth and everyone affiliated with this project.
Okay. All righty. Oh, it doesn't sound like anyone objects to promoting it.
Okay, I can write something up for the newsletter and let you all know before it goes in the newsletter.
Okay.
And I just have two more things.
Okay.
So a little while ago, you all had asked us to look into the text messaging system that Colmar Manor uses for emergency notification and for news announcements. We did look into that, and we are in the process of using the free service right now. It seems to work well. Our office manager sent out a couple of messages to staff, and they came through fine. So what we're doing is we are collecting the phone numbers of individuals who gave their information at the food giveaways. And we will put that into the database. And when there are messages that we would normally send out by Constant Contact, we will also send it out by this platform, which is called Jook, J-O-O-K, text messaging service, TMS. And we'll start sending those out as soon as we get those numbers input into the database.
Could I ask a question?
Yes.
Will that automatically include everyone?
Who's on Constant Contact?
All the phone numbers that are already on Constant Contact.
So Constant Contact is an email-based system. It is not a phone-based system. So they're not
right.
They're different. So we'll send them out, messages out by both platforms. One will be phone-based and one will be email-based.
Maybe you should send out a Constant Contact and tell people if they want to be put on the text thing, they could send how to send their phone number.
We will.
Okay. Sounds good.
Commissioner Givens, there was also information gathered when we do the backpack
yes,
drives as well as the Christmas thing at some point. So I'm not sure if we can tap into that database or that database allowed us to do so. I yield back.
Okay. And then one last thing. At the work session for general government, we all had talked about the senior bus, and you all had asked me to look into whether or not there were rideshare options for us to use, and I did look into that. Lyft does have a service called Lyft Pass, and that is something where we could subsidize rides for residents. I think what would be the best, based on what they told me about, is like giving a definite number of passes. They suggested like maybe 3 passes per month that we would subsidize up to whatever amount that we wanted to do it. And the only caveat is that the person has to be technologically savvy enough to use the Lyft app, because that is the platform in which it would be used. Now, I did send you all some information about voucher systems with taxis, and you can look that over as well. And we can have a further discussion about that once we shore up the general government budget up next month, because we're just going to revisit that since we didn't completely finish it at the work session. And I don't want to leave it hanging out there without having a final discussion about those finer points that I sent you all some information this week on. And that's all that I have.
I have a
Commissioner.
question. You said you sent us something on the taxis. What day did you send that up? Because I didn't see it.
Let's see, it was very recently, I can't say exactly what day it was. I know I did talk to Cecil County and Anne Arundel County, which are the examples that I sent you. I sent you a link for both of those, and let me see here. It was probably on either Monday or Tuesday of this week. So, because I know I finalized all that information this week.
Okay, I'll go back and check my email.
Okay, if you didn't get it, just let me know. I can resend it.
Okay, thank you. I do have another question. A while ago, Commissioner Givens had asked that a binder be created to keep track of the different resolutions and ordinance that we vote on. Has that binder, has it been done?
So I don't know that we keep a binder. We keep a spreadsheet of them.
Is that something that we could easily access?
The spreadsheet?
Yeah, the commissioners, could they easily?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if we could put it on like Google Docs and you could get it to Google Docs.
And Commissioner Givens, did you have a question?
Yeah. So for one, I have an issue with that because it's not, that wasn't the vision that I had. And that's not what we agreed to do. That's not what the commission voted on. That's not, as a matter of fact, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Best even drafted some type of kind of like form for us.
We do, we have the form.
It's very, very simple. And I'm not sure why it's such a problem, because here's the problem is for me. If I'm a resident and I want to know what's going on, I should be able to go up to the town hall and find, or as a commissioner, and open this book and see what was said, see what was changed, because here becomes this whole problem where, I have to go back and research it and look at the minutes and stuff like that. And I just think that takes us, into, more time than that's really necessary. I think it's just easy. We vote on something, it's voted as a resolution or whatever. You fill out what it is, and we sign it, and the chair signs it.
Right, and we have copies of all of those in the folders in the file cabinets. But if you all want, and we have a spreadsheet. Yeah, we have a spreadsheet that shows every one that was passed and the date that it was passed. But I can make a physical binder of those and make sure that they are in the town hall for any.
Can we go back and look at the? Oh, you said you have been filling out the forms. Is that what you said?
The form that Kevin gave me is a generic resolution form that if we are in a meeting, I can fill out that generic resolution form with the whereases and the therefores to make the resolution at that moment. And I do have that form. And I have that form typically at every meeting, so that if you all have want to do a resolution on the fly, I have that available to me to fill in.
So it was my understanding, Kevin, and I could be wrong, but when we're taking these votes, we're voting, especially when we're voting for something that we may need to research later on, is we're voting as a resolution. Is that not right, or am I misunderstanding, Kevin, or what am I doing?
My understanding is when you make when you make substantive decisions, you try with every effort to make those decisions with a written resolution. That's why the form was supplied, and that would be put into a binder available for public inspection. However, it sounds to me that it being in a folder is tantamount to being a binder anyway. So, maybe it'd be handy to have the spreadsheet spoken of as the index in the binder, and then all the resolutions 3-hole punched and put in the binders or volumes of binders or folders. But yeah, I have towns that have in their rules for the conduct of meetings that no substantive decision is made without a resolution. And although that's not a binding thing in your town, I don't recall that being really passed, but I think that was the intent. You all wanted to try to move towards making substantive decisions. So you'd have a history of it and you could go back and research it and look at what was actually said and done in the resolution. So yeah.
Yeah, and I would like for us to return to that, because with all due respect, it becomes a lot of people's memories per se, and and in my past, in my previous work, when we take a statement, we write it down right then, and then it's always more looked at as more valid because it's not based on, well, what I thought. You're not going off, and I understand you're saying a spreadsheet, and I haven't seen it, so I can't really speak to that. But I think if we stick to the form and put that inside the binder, I think that because I did get a chance to look at the form, and I thought it hit the basics, and basically wasn't very complicated. So,
It's not. So then am I hearing that,
we voted on that. So
Yeah,
it's
I
not like something we got to
understand
re-vote on.
no. I'm just want to make sure that I'm clear that when you all are making substantive decisions, I don't know what a substantive decision might be, whether like the vote that you all took on the letter, is that
That's
something that would be then solidified by a resolution as opposed to a voice vote?
No, that a voice vote that's a substantive matter. If we talk about, well, we want to paint the town hall, beige, that's really not substantive. I mean, that's kind of like, I mean, not to say that it wouldn't be substantive, but it's not something that's going to really move the town in one way or the other, as far as getting us kind of in trouble, or we, need to go back to. But so I'll leave it at that.
But if I may, the difference between substantive and procedural, if you're going to strictly look at the two, a procedure would be like a Robert's Rules motion to adjourn, whereas a substantive matter, anything of substance that is of a various subject matter that is a decision. I don't know how strict you want to go on that and requiring resolution. Again, I do have a town that they never make decisions as a body, as a collegial body on a substantive matter unless it's put forth in writing in the form of a resolution and approved. But many towns do not. They conduct business and make a lot of decisions simply by voice vote and recorded in the minutes what substantive decision was made. Right now, from my understanding of this particular town, is that it's just kind of a non-binding encouragement for staff to try to put as many substantive decisions in the form of resolution as possible, but it's not as strict as it could be, and it's not the law of the town.
Thank you, Mr. Bass. Miss Barbara, since you said it's in a spreadsheet already, is that something you could put on the website?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so maybe have it in a hard copy and electronically. So if someone just wants to go on the web, and they can just look on the web and see it.
Yes, ma'am, we can do that.
Okay. And then my other question for you, I forgot just that quick. All right, I'll go to someone else because I can't remember. I wanted to ask you something else, but that's okay. Are there any other questions for Ms. Barber right now in regards to her report? No. Oh, Ms. Barber.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you want to talk about the Black History Month program? Did you want to talk about it now?
Yes, ma'am. Do you need something from me? I'm not sure what more I could add.
I just want us to pick a day.
Oh, yes, that would be good. I think the dates are this Saturday is the 13th, I believe, and then the next Saturday is the 20th. And then there is the 27th, which many of the other communities are doing their events on the 27th.
Okay. So, Commissioner Armistead, I know you were working with former Commissioner Hill. Did you guys have a date or have a idea of what you wanted to do?
Well, when we were speaking about it yesterday, we were gonna talk today, but we didn't get to speak about it. The idea had come up, I think, of doing Colmar Manor and Cottage City in the same day. I don't know if that's something that we want to do. I don't know if you and he further discussed that, so maybe we should come back to everybody with further details.
Actually, Fred did call me today, but I didn't get a chance to talk to him.
Same.
Whatever days you guys think is best is fine with me. I'll be out of town that last weekend in February, but that shouldn't stop the program from going because it'll be virtual. It'll be on Zoom. So.
Would you be able to participate from out of town, or will you be out of commission, literally?
It depends on what time. It depends on what time we have it. Yeah. I mean, I'll definitely try to participate if I can.
Yeah, I mean, we suspected that maybe you would want to speak and be involved. So maybe you and he and I can loop back together tomorrow, see if the three of us can talk.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thanks.
Did you include Shirley Lewis in that? I think, I don't know how much time she has, but I know she had an interest.
Miss Barber, you wanted to address that?
I did have a conversation with Miss Lewis earlier in the month. And she indicated that, you know, I think I understood that she said she could, you know, have some input, but she was very busy this month. And that, you know, if it was going to be something that was going to be online, then she would probably need some assistance because that really wasn't her forte.
Do we have any concept of what we're doing? Is it just kind of a Zoom kind of I think what I read was that we were going to do like was it some seminar and we were just going to kind of play it also, something like that, or is this something independent, Commissioner Armistead, that you were planning to do with former Commissioner Hill?
So one thing that the staff has done is the staff did put together a PowerPoint that is currently running on the cable channel, and that runs 24 hours, 7 days a week. And I do recall from the work session that was something that I kind of the staff was tasked with putting together. So that is on the cable channel currently. And then beyond that, I think the commissioners are working with former Commissioner Hill. I will say that I know that Colmar Manor is doing, what I understand them to be doing is they're watching a movie from PBS called The Black Church. I think that's what it's called, on that Saturday, and then having a discussion and some activities after the movie.
Okay, well, my concern would be that we need to do some type of advertisement to let people know that we are doing something. I think the newsletter has already gone out, so it won't be in the newsletter. So we'll need to do something like Constant Contact, or I don't know. I don't know if we want to do flyers this late, but you need to let people know, maybe put something on the sign on the cable channel, so people will know that we are doing something. We are recognizing Black History Month. Okay. Are we ready for Public Works?
Hold on, I got one more question.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Your conversations with Colmar Manor in regards to this bus situation, especially for those citizens who might be not have attended last week meeting. What did we? Because they don't know the information you sent us out, and I don't know if the other commissioners may have looked at it, but can you kind of advise as far as your calculations in regards to what we're spending per rider?
Sure, let me just pull it up. I think they still have permission to share my screen. If not, I can just speak to it. Let me see, hold on a second.
I don't think you have to be a host to share your screen.
Actually, yeah, you do. You have to go in there and allow sharing of multiple people.
Okay, so let's see. Okay, I just made you a host again.
Okay. So this is the transportation analysis that I did. Basically, I went back through all of the bills that we had received from Colmar Manor regarding the Port Towns transportation system. I show here the ridership for the quarter and then the average cost per person based on what the bill was. So the average cost per person of all the past 2 years is about $55 per person. The mean cost is $42, and the mean just is when you throw out the lowest amount and the highest amount, and you use only those figures in between. So it's looking like at a bell curve, you throw out the lowest and the highest, and then you look at those points that are just in between. So the mean cost is $42. Edmonston, as I indicated here, doesn't currently pay anything, but they haven't had anybody that has ridden the bus in about a year. I did talk with their manager, and most people use the regular bus system and the county bus because that's primarily on the bus route of the apartments, I guess, where most people who are using public transportation are living. And then these are those alternatives that I spoke about with the taxi voucher system that Anne Arundel County has and Cecil County has. I talked a little bit about the Lyft options with the Lyft Pass. So those are kind of the two biggest options. I did ask for a copy of the agreement from the clerk treasurer of Colmar Manor, and he's working on getting that to me because I wanted to make sure if you all decide to make any changes that we don't violate that agreement that was put into place a number of years ago.
Okay, I see on your screen, it says Edmonston hasn't paid in, they haven't paid in about a year.
Yeah, but they haven't had anybody riding the bus in a year either.
Okay, and when I talked to Mayor Barrow, she said that it is based 100% on ridership.
It is.
So I guess that's why they haven't paid anything.
Right.
Okay. So, but we still pay for the salary of the employees that drive the bus. We pay for the maintenance, we pay for gas, we pay for the insurance. Am I missing something? Is that everything that we're paying for?
That's everything. The telephones, they use.
Oh yeah, the workman's comp and insurance and all that stuff, salary and benefit stuff. So all of that currently is being split between 3 of the 4 port towns.
Correct.
Okay. Commissioner Givens, did you want to make another comment on that?
Yeah, so I still think that we should be looking, having discussions with, because I'm not sure if this thing is continuing to be beneficial to Bladensburg, but at what we're paying, I don't think that it's to our best interest, to continue down that road at these rates. We should be looking at other options, and so that we can kind of look to see what's more affordable. I mean, I think that's at 55 or even 42 is quite high for a ride. I mean, within a 5-mile radius. We're not talking about going all the way to DC and back. So I'll yield back.
I agree, that is quite high for one trip. And that's round trip, right, Miss Barbara?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's still high for one person. That's a lot. Um, yeah, I'm definitely open to looking at alternatives, means of transportation. I did speak to Mayor Barrow, and she said that she was willing to have another conversation in regards to the billing for our town. So I don't know. I guess we can see what, if we want to have another conversation with Comar Manor in regards to how we're being charged, because maybe we should do as Edmiston do, and but then again, if we have just one person ride, they're going to charge us for everything. So to me, it's kind of not fair, because we don't have that many people riding, just like Edmiston, but because we had 2 or 3 people ride in the last quarter, they charged us for everything. They charged us for the gas, the phone, the insurance, the salary. And so that's why it was $55 or $42 per ride per person, because we had so few people ride in the last quarter. So
No, the last quarter was $147.
A ride.
A ride, yeah. Yeah.
It's $147 a trip. The 55.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I'm when I said the 55 and the 42, I'm just talking about on an average.
Oh, okay.
I'm just talking about on an average. But this last quarter, we only had 3 people. That was like, 150, 147 per person, which is extremely high. But I'm just saying overall, it looks like the only quarter where we really had a substantial amount of people ride was the previous quarter. We had 121 people, but that still was $20 per person, which is still a lot. So, are there any other comments from other commissioners or the public? If anyone wants to ask any questions or comments, now's the time. Speak up or forever hold your peace.
Whatever you all can come up with is fine with me.
Can I ask that you speak to the mayor of Bladensburg as well, and kind of figure out, to kind of see where they're at with all of this in this conversation, because, they might see it as beneficial, or they may be having issues with it as well, because I'm not sure if they have any concerns.
Yeah, I was trying to see. So this sheet right here, Ms. Barbara, is just for our quarters. Oh, it's not for other towns, right? Because I was trying to see. Okay. But they did send us on the last invoice, they did send us how much they charged.
Right. We see how much they pay.
Yeah. And I think we're still paying the most, right?
Oh, no. Bladensburg pays the most.
I mean, per ride.
Oh, per ride. I'd really have to do. I don't know exactly how much theirs are per ride, because they do have such higher ridership than we do.
Yeah, I think if I remember right, we were still paying the most per ride.
I would probably say yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So yeah, I've been trying to catch up with Mayor James, so I'll continue to try to talk to her. I guess there's really no point in talking to Mayor Gant, because they're not really participating.
Right.
Okay. All right, if there's no other comments or questions, we can go to Public Works.
Hello. I got a few things just to update. The Public Works fence is up, and we're just waiting on the lockbox that the county had requested for us to have for the fire department to be able to have access to opening the gate. Once that box comes in, then they'll install that, and they have to make a few alterations that I have made suggestions of because of the fence, the way the fence is. Then they'll be finished with the fence. last town hall meeting, Commissioner Gibbons asked me to speak with the gentleman that lives in the alley by the Public Works Department about the grass that was ran over. Spoke with him. We looked at it. I knew exactly what happened. He's okay with it, with us fixing it. He just wanted us to be aware of it so that it won't be cause further issues in front of his house. So we have spoken with him, and we're going to rectify that, plant seeds in the springtime, and get some dirt over there to kind of even it back out, just in case anybody else ride over top of it. They won't go too much further down into the dirt. I got a request from a gentleman that lives next door to the town hall that I'm presenting to the commission today. He had a concern about the pine tree that sits right on our property, but hangs over onto his back porch, back door area. The pine needles fall on his house, on his roof, his back door. The sap from the tree falls on it, and he wanted to know if the commission would be willing to cut that tree down. He even mentioned that he will buy 2 small trees that we can plant anywhere we want. He just want to try to get that tree taken care of because he's getting a little tired of having to clean up the pines every day and the sap get on his house, spray his siding and stuff down to try to get that sap off. So I told him I will mention it to the commission and see how you guys feel about that. Don't have a price on cutting it down right now, but I could estimate it at about $1,500, maybe less, to cut that tree down. Any thoughts on that?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Best.
Greg, has he tried to mitigate the problem by cutting off the limbs at the property line? Would that rectify the situation?
It would, but it will make the tree one-sided. It's a pine tree. Pine trees you can't cut but so much. You can elevate them up, but you can't cut them but so much before they start to die.
Well, I will say that the tree law of Maryland, which is found in the case law of Maryland, Merrick versus CXX, any property owner is permitted under the law to trim off any roots or branches that cross over the imaginary plane that is the boundary line of their property. The only exception to that rule is when the pruning would imminently endanger the health of the tree, then they would be prohibited from doing that. But any property owner can cut off a sheer plane of any overhanging branches that pierce the imaginary plane that separates 2 properties. And it sounds like he's not done that. And I guess if he did do that and found it was still a nuisance, then he could approach the commission to remove it completely. Or he could volunteer to pay 50% of the removal of the tree if it was desirable by the commission. I yield.
Thank you, Mr. Best. Ms. Barber, I just sent you a message.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Are there any other comments?
Okay, well, I will share that information with him and try to do that. I'll look at it with him to see if, matter of fact, I'll even get I got a meeting on Thursday, tomorrow, with a guy from American Landscaping who's going to look at something else for me. I'll see what he recommends far as if he does cut it back. what the health of the tree would be before I recommend that he does that. And then I'll get back with the commission and let you know.
Let me just ask one more fact. Is the trunk of the tree wholly on town property?
Yes.
Okay. Then the tree is owned by the town in its totality. A tree that straddles two property lines is commonly owned by both abutting owners. FYI, I yield.
Correct.
Thank you. Mr. Pinkney, do you have anything else? for
Yes,
us?
the town sign in front of the town hall has been painted. Only thing we're waiting on is for us to get some good days to be able to paint the poles that's outside. We may just put those signs up for the time being until the weather changes a little bit, and then we'll go back and take them down and just paint the poles that are on the white poles that are holding the signs up. Just so that the signs can go back up, but the actual signage, the boards have been painted and ready to go back up. Dumpster day. At the last town hall meeting, we talked about dumpster day, and I had made a recommendation of doing it in March. We said that we would come back this month. If anything changed, I believe the commission said we can go ahead and pick a date. But because we weren't able to put anything in the newsletter in the February newsletter, the next thing that will be able to go out will be the March newsletter. So I've made a recommendation that we put it in the March newsletter and have dumpster day in April. Me and Ms. Barbara are in talks right now. I believe we're still waiting on the response of one of the grants that we had for cleanup to see if we're able to go to the end of April with the cleanup, or do we have to do it by April 1st? So that will determine which one we'll do first. If we have to do the cleanup before we do dumpster day, we'll do the cleanup first and then do dumpster day afterwards. But we're shooting for April to have the dumpster day. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Are there any questions, any further questions for Mr. Pinkney?
Yeah, Commissioner Givens. We did the mitigation, water mitigation across the sidewalk a few years ago. I was speaking with Commissioner Marche, and I meant to bring it. I mentioned it last time, but we need to kind of go back and revisit the way we did it a little bit, because what I've noticed now is that when we put the in front of the wall, we put dirt and grass back there, and my intention or my thought was that it would the water would just seep down and then go into the drain, and for the most part it does, but when it rains heavy it just continues to run across the grass. So I think what's going to be in our best interest, because it's creating a problem. Commissioner Marche indicated that she almost fell, and I know in the summertime I've been out there and it's rained and it's been mossy. So I think what we need to probably do now is remove the dirt and the grass and just put pea gravel there. If you put pea gravel there, the water will immediately drain straight down and it won't run across. Because you don't give it a surface, it just drops right down into the drain that's already there. So it's not a lot of work that we need to do, but it will take some physical labor to remove that grass and dirt and just replace it from some pea gravel from Ernest Meyer. And I said pea gravel because it won't be anything that people can really pick up a rock and throw it and kind of create damage. So what is your thoughts on that, Greg? And if we can agree, can we kind of figure out when we can do it?
That's probably the best solution at this point.
Okay. Does any other commissioner have any thoughts on that? I mean, I'm not sure if I know Commissioner Yuri walks around, so I'm sure she's probably seen it, experienced it, you know? Well, when can we look at thinking about, you know, I know it's kind of wintry right now, it's kind of cold, but you figure when we get some good days, maybe we can get that on the schedule at some point before it gets to, because we're going to have the rainy season coming, and my concern is that will be even more of a problematic once the rainy season hits.
Yeah, I would say March will probably be better to do it. The temperatures probably go up a little bit. We can get out of the snowy kind of mess that we've been in, and then kind of get it dug out and put some rock down. I don't think it's too much of a problem on the end closer to the house. I think it's more so on the end where the what are those the Anacostia watershed signage is.
Yeah.
Right by the town LED sign over in that area. But I'm guessing that we will probably have to do both sides just to make it look uniform.
Right. Yeah, and below there are rocks there below there, so it should only be a couple of inches. So.
Right. Yeah, I would say I can check with if they can send me out some guys. I'm not sure about a group now. They probably only send in, I think on my said they only one person. But I may be able to get that one person to come in, and he'll be assigned for like a week or so next to work on as far as digging that stuff out. So I can contact them and see if I can get somebody over here to kind of give us an extra hand on it so it don't alter our normal schedule too much.
Okay, thank you.
Is that it, Mr. Pinckney?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Barber, there's someone listed as town hall. Is that?
Oh, that's the camera that Greg hooks up so that this is broadcast over the cable.
Okay.
Channel.
All righty. I believe next is the chief. You're up.
Yes, Mayor, Council, and Council Chair. I can actually make myself real brief. I was going to speak on the 43rd Avenue project. We did receive a response back from State Highway Administration. They advised us that they are going to be responsible for regrading the roadway in front of their storm drain to alleviate the problem we have with the standing water that causes the icing during the winter months. So tonight I'm asking permission from the commission to move forward on aggressively trying to get them to give us a date when they can make the repairs in the spring and lock that in. If they advise that they cannot do it because of time restraints on their personnel, I'm going to ask permission from the commission to move forward with CBJ, our engineering firm that works for us, to go ahead and write a letter stating that we will manage the project and pay for the initial grading and replacement of the grade in the pavement and get them to reimburse us, which was suggested by Senator Augustine to do it that way, which has been done several times over the Eastern Shore and parts of Prince George's County to actually get work done that State Highway Administration doesn't have time to do. Because of the size of the project is so small, they have other large projects that are committed to already this year and next year. So we don't want to have them owe us something and we have to wait several years or several months to replace. Now, the only problem with that is that if we do have them replace that grade and we have a grant out right now to try to get that whole street repaved, if we get it done now, we won't have a scene where our replacement of the street will connect to their grade, which going to have possibility of water getting into the cracks and popping up, maybe have potholes or something like that. So, or when we plow, our plow may hit that seam. So that's a risk we take by having them replace it now, other than waiting for us to wait for our grant to come through to actually replace the asphalt and mill and replace the asphalt of the existing street. So we're just trying to get some guidance right now for staff to move forward and try to get this thing moving in the right direction by getting State Highway Administration to actually repair their problem with the drainage issue. I yield.
Thank you, Chief. Are there any questions or comments for the chief? I'll give you a few seconds to come off of mute. Hearing no questions or comments. Hello?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Mr. Beth.
I assume, Chief, that whatever statutory or COMAR authority to do the repair locally and then seek reimbursement from the Highway Administration for a roadway that's on or near a state highway, that you have to secure in writing or submit a form and secure some sort of acknowledgement before you proceed with that, procuring that repair and conducting it. Is that right?
That's correct, sir. What Senator Augustine told us to do is start off with the first initial request for them to do the repair. If they come back and say that they cannot do it due to the fact of time restraints, he said that many municipalities on the Eastern Shore, as well as local municipalities, have offered to manage the project and hire the actual company to come in to contract it and be reimbursed by the State Highway Administration during the process or before the process starts.
Did the state senator?
I'm sorry, and I'm pretty sure that all the paperwork will be done in reference to liability and stuff like that. We work all that stuff out, but we just want to make sure that, if that's the direction it wants to go in, because Senator Augustine said we can do it. I'm pretty sure we make sure that all the stuff in reference to liability and issues in reference to that kind of stuff can be worked out if it's doable.
If you have any information to share on the citation to the law, whether it be COMAR or state statute, please share it with me. I'd be interested. Thank you.
Yes, sir. What I can do is I can get in contact with Senator Augustine's office to get more detail about that for you, sir, and make sure you receive it.
Chief, did you say that Robin, you didn't get the information from Robin in regards to the grant?
Yes, the grant, she said that it's open, was not open no more, but the only grant that's available at this time that's already been closed, we already applied for it. So we're just waiting for to get a response back from the county if they're going to grant us that grant or not. And the other grants are not open as at this time.
Okay. Okay.
And that grant is for milling and repaving of 43rd.
Okay. So we just need to go ahead and decide if we want to have SHA go ahead and do the repair now instead of waiting for those grants and stuff to come in, right?
That's correct.
I think we should go ahead and have them do the repairs now while they're willing to do it. Is there any other commissioners have any opinions on that?
Commissioner Givens, I agree with you.
Okay, I saw Commissioner Moon nod in agreement. Okay, Commissioner Young or Commissioner Yuri?
That's fine with me.
Is Commissioner Yuri still with us?
I'm sorry, you may not have heard me. I said I agree with it as well.
Okay, we didn't hear you. Thank you. Okay, Chief, so we're all in agreement.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Thank
Okay,
you very
that's,
much.
yeah.
And the other issue, I don't know if I had to wait to a closed session, is a reference to an officer that has completed his 1 year anniversary. And I sent something to you for email that I want to discuss, but I'm not sure if I can discuss it during open session or needs to go to closed session.
I think it would be best if we discussed it in the closed session. The chair and I talked about it earlier today.
Yes, ma'am. That's all I have.
Thank you, Chief. Ward 1, are you ready to give your report?
I don't really have anything to report this month. Thank you everyone for all you're doing. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ward 2.
Same. I don't really have anything to report this month. And I appreciate everybody's hard work.
Thank you. Ward 3, which is me. I don't really have anything to report, but I did want to mention that I believe it was earlier this week, me and Miss Barber attended a meeting with Delegate Fisher and SHA. And they did mention 43rd Avenue, and they also talked about the bridge on Bladensburg Road, the bridge that's, I guess, is collapsed. It hasn't been repaired for several years. So they did talk about both of those. So they're aware of the bridge and they know that it needs to be repaired. But Ms. Barber, it didn't sound like they were getting ready to do it anytime soon.
No, what they mentioned was that they said that the bridge belonged to Prince George's County. And that they were in discussion with Prince George's County about getting it fixed. But what they did want to do in the immediate future was to put some signage up to have people cross the street earlier, so that they wouldn't just happen to come upon the bridge and have to go out onto Bladensburg Road to get around that spot. So that was kind of what they left it at, pending that discussion with Prince George's County about the bridge.
I thought she said that the crosswalk was already there.
I think, she was mentioning that there is a crosswalk, but they wanted to put up signage to have people cross earlier.
Before the crosswalk.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I thought that's what they said. Okay. All right.
May I just ask a quick question? So a bridge collapsed?
It's a pedestrian bridge that's right there on the sidewalk, that's been kind of cordoned off for the past couple of years.
You're talking about the one.
It's right over
You're talking
Doolin
about the
Creek.
one in Ward 1, right?
Yeah, over there by Doolin Creek. That little,
right.
It's like a little teeny
that definitely
walkway.
needs work, but at least they put up another sign or a sign.
Yeah, I think in the meeting they said they were going to put up more signs in regards to the crossing and stuff. Okay, and that's all I have. Oh, and I just wanted to thank Commissioner Armache and Mr. Hill, former Commissioner Hill, for taking on the initiative to have a program for our Black History Month. I really appreciate you guys stepping up and taking that on. So thank you. I as you know, I haven't been present that much due to the loss in my family. So I just really wanted to say thank you. Next, Ward 4, Commissioner Givens, your report.
I have nothing. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. At large, Commissioner Uri, your report.
Absolutely. So the only thing that I have to report, I was very happy that Comer Manor went forward and had a discussion, concerning the compare. The only thing for me is that I keep getting complaints over and over about the prices in that store. So hopefully we can continue to work with Palmer Manor and really be heard, because, the sentiment that I'm getting is that it's absolutely outrageous, even in some ways, and, double what Giant and Safeway is selling for. So, we're just going to keep pressing that issue.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Lux did send us an email. So he said that they took in all our comments from the meeting last night and that he's gonna take it back to the, I guess, to the management and the owner of the store. So hopefully they heard the complaints and then it sounds like they're gonna try to work with us to do something about the pricing.
Thank you for the update.
Mhm. Okay, so we'll open it back up to public comments. We had opened the floor for public comments in the beginning of the meeting, but I believe we have some additional people that have joined later. So if you would like to speak now, please acknowledge yourself, state your name and your address for the record. Thank you. I'll give you a few minutes to come off a few seconds to come off of mute. Okay, doesn't sound like we have any comments from the public. So we are at the end of our agenda. We do have a closed session to go into to discuss. Is it a personnel matter? Yeah, it's personnel. Yeah, it's personnel. Yeah. Okay. So I will entertain a motion to go into closed session.
Can you
Do I need,
state?
do I need to read
statutory?
the statement first before I take the motion?
I believe.
Okay, so where am I at? Okay, certification for conducting closed sessions in accordance with the Maryland Open Meetings Act, State Government Article 10-508. I hereby certify that I, the undersigned, am the presiding officer of a meeting of the Cottage City Commission on February 10th, 2021 at 9:37 p.m. at the Cottage City virtual meeting. Is there a motion to go into closed session to discuss a personnel matter?
Commissioner Amarche, I move that we go into closed session to discuss a personal matter.
Is there a second?
Commissioner Givens, a second.
Thank
I
you.
second.
Thank you, Commissioner Givens. And call for the vote, Ward 1.
Aye. Pardon me, aye.
Thank you, Ward 2.
Aye.
Thank you, Ward 3. Aye. Ward 4.
Commissioner Givens, aye.
Thank you. At large.
Large eye.
Thank you. We are now in a closed session. If you are not a part of this meeting, please excuse yourself at this time. And thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Okay, just a minute. I got to get the town hall camera off.
Okay. Did you want to still record or you want to stop the recording?
Yeah, I'll stop the recording.
Okay.
Just I apologize. I got new contacts. I'm squinting over here. I need to wear my readers when I do the computer. Okay, hold on.
At large.
Large eye.
Thank you. It's 11:38. Ooh, and we are now out of our closed session and we are going back into our open session and the recording has started. Ms. Barber, do you have the chief on the line now?
I told him he needed to come back on. He's not locked out, so he should be back on momentarily. He's back on, yes.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Barber. I mean, Mr. Bess.
Madam Chair, could you please state your litany of the closure? You had been in closed session, statutory authority, the purpose of closure, who was present, put that in the record, please.
Yeah, let me get myself together, because I wrote this down. Okay, the statutory authority to close session, State Government Article 10-50A. Discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom it has jurisdiction. Members present were Commissioners Wheatley, Armache, Uri, Givens, Young, Town Manager Barber, Chief of Police Ayers, Town Attorney, Mr. Best. Okay. That should cover it, right?
Yes, thank you.
No problem. Okay, we have the chief back. So
Yes, ma'am.
we need to make a motion on Officer Perez promotion to first class. Officer first class. Is there a motion?
May I ask?
Oh, moved.
Was
Sorry.
there a
For a second.
question?
Yeah, this is Commissioner Amarche. May I ask one question real quick?
Mhm.
Commissioner Givens raised the issue of if we're giving him a promotion, he should also get a raise. Was there a consensus about that?
I
Or
think we said we were going to discuss that during the budget
discuss that later?
process.
Okay, so right now we're just voting on the promotion. Okay.
Yeah, we're just doing the promotion right now.
Thank you.
I believe I heard a motion from Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Okay. I don't believe I heard a second.
This is Commissioner Amarche. I second.
Okay. So call for the vote. Thank you. Ward 1,
Aye.
Ward 2,
Aye.
Ward 3, aye. Ward 4.
Commissioner Givens, aye.
Thank you. At large.
At large, aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, everyone. I don't believe we have any other business to entertain tonight. It's 11:41. So with that, I would like to adjourn the open portion of our meeting.
Commissioner Givens, I make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Commissioner Givens. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Givens, aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Sorry
you.
it was so
Everyone
long.
take care.
Yeah, be safe
care.
out there.
Yes, snow's coming. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank
Mhm.
you.
Did I leave? Where's the leave button?